Princess Diana, the people's princess, captured the world's heart with her compassion, charm, and courage. But even in her final days, she remained mysterious, leaving behind a series of private requests. Some of these wishes are tender, others deeply personal, but one, in particular, chills the spine and makes you wonder about the secrets she carried to her grave. Join us as we uncover 12 surprising final requests of Lady Diana, each more revealing than the last, with number 3 standing out as truly disturbing. Number 12. Inclusion of personal items in her burial. Diana, even in her final moments, seemed to carry a strong sense of what mattered deeply to her. Among her last wishes was the desire to be buried with certain personal treasures, objects that held meaning and whispered stories of her life and relationships. Friends and family remembered that she wanted a few carefully chosen items to accompany her, small tokens that captured pieces of her heart, memories, and perhaps even unspoken emotions. Yet, not all of these items were allowed to be placed in her coffin. 2 of the most talked-about objects, the delicate poem from Dodi Fayed, which had been written with affection and intimacy, and her engagement ring, a symbol of her love and hopes, were kept from resting with her. Those closest to Diana felt a quiet sting of betrayal, a sense that a part of her story, the story she had wished to take with her, was being left behind. The absence of these items sparked whispered debates and lingering sadness, as if the very essence of what she valued had been interrupted. Her wish to include these personal mementos painted a picture of someone who cherished the small, intimate details of life, who held on to connections and emotions in ways that were deeply personal and profoundly human. Each object she wanted in her coffin seemed to carry its own story, its own significance, as if even in death she sought a private space to honor memories and relationships that had shaped her world. The decisions to exclude certain items did not erase their meaning. Rather, they highlighted the tension between personal desire and the formal constraints that surrounded her burial. But there's one precious item Diana specifically wished to be buried with. So what could it be? Let's find out. Number 11. Rosary from Mother Teresa. Lady Diana's life was filled with moments of grace, kindness, and deep connections, and even in her final wishes, these connections shone through. Among her many personal requests, one stands out. She wanted a rosary, given to her by Mother Teresa, to be placed in her hands during her burial. This small but meaningful object carried a weight far greater than its size. Mother Teresa, known worldwide for her tireless care for the poorest and most forgotten, had once entrusted Diana with this simple string of beads, a symbol of prayer and devotion. To Diana, it wasn't just a gift. It was a link to someone who lived a life of selflessness and love, someone whose quiet power changed the world through simple acts of care. By asking for the rosary to rest in her hands, Diana seemed to carry a piece of that same spirit with her, a gesture that spoke more than words ever could. Imagining Diana in that serene moment, hands gently clasped around the rosary, evokes a sense of calm and reverence. The beads, threaded carefully between her fingers, would serve as a silent prayer, a bridge between her life on earth and the legacy of kindness she admired. It hints at a side of her that was deeply reflective, spiritual, and aware of the meaning behind the smallest symbols. Even without words, the rosary tells a story of connection, admiration, and continuity. For Diana, this rosary was more than a religious token. It was a piece of the humanity she cherished, a quiet emblem of devotion, love, and the threads of faith that wove through her extraordinary life. But why will she give away a piece of dress that will mark her memory forever? Let's find out what cloth it is. Number 10. Wedding dress. Diana's wedding dress, the very gown that captured the world's imagination on that unforgettable day, was not just a piece of fabric and lace. It was part of a carefully thought-out plan for her estate. She didn't leave it to chance, nor did she let it become just another item to be passed around. Every stitch seemed to carry a memory, and every fold had a story. Alongside this iconic dress, Diana included other personal belongings that held deep meaning for her and for those close to her. Her instructions for distributing these items were precise, reflecting a sense of order and care that went beyond mere possessions. She thought about the people in her life, the ones who would treasure these objects, not for their material value, but for the memories and emotions they carried. Some items were to be given to family members, others to close friends, each chosen with thoughtfulness and personal significance.
I don't always read that. I'm people very willing to tell me that.
Even small objects like a favorite scarf or a handwritten note were part of her careful planning, showing that nothing was too trivial if it mattered to her heart. There is something almost intimate about the idea of Diana's belongings being handed out according to her wishes. Her estate was more than money or titles. It was pieces of her life, snapshots of moments that shaped her story. Each item became a bridge between her world and the lives of those she loved, carrying with it echoes of laughter, moments of sorrow, and show of her humanity. Diana's personal touch remained, guiding the way her legacy continued through the very objects she cherished. Did she also wish for something better for her son's upbringing? Let's take a closer look. Number 9. Legacy for her sons. Diana, Princess of Wales, left clear instructions in her will about what should happen to her estate, and more importantly, how her two sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, should be cared for after her passing. She wanted to make sure that both her boys were looked after properly, and that they would benefit equally from what she had worked so hard to build. Her will was very detailed, not just about money or property, but also about the guidance and support she wished them to have as they grew up. She made it clear that her estate, including her personal belongings and financial assets, should be shared between William and Harry. But she also went further, thinking carefully about the emotional and practical aspects of their lives. Diana's instructions included how her sons should be raised, the type of care they should receive, and the people she trusted to help guide them along the way. She wanted to make sure that even without her presence, her children would have a stable and loving environment. Her approach reflected the deep care she felt for both of her sons. She thought about how each of them might be affected by her absence and wanted to provide them with security, love, and guidance.
Can turn the nourishment of the body into a painful attack on themselves.
Diana's attention to detail showed her understanding that inheritance is not just about wealth, but also about values, upbringing, and protection. She envisioned a plan that would help them grow into strong, responsible, and happy adults, despite the tragedy of losing a mother at a young age. The care she took in writing her instructions left a lasting mark on their lives, guiding those who were responsible for looking after them and protecting her wishes. In this way, Diana's legacy was not just material. It was deeply personal, reflecting her enduring love for William and Harry, and her desire to shape their futures with thoughtfulness and care. Number 8. Charitable contributions. Diana's heart for helping others extended far beyond her life. When she made plans for her estate, she was very clear that she wanted it to make a difference in the world. She asked that a portion of her wealth be given to a range of charities, showing how deeply she cared about people in need. Her choices reflected the causes she had supported throughout her life, from children's hospitals to organizations helping the sick, the poor, and the vulnerable. Her dedication to charity was well known. She often visited hospitals, spent time with people living with illnesses such as HIV and leprosy, and worked to raise awareness about causes that were sometimes ignored. She wanted her estate to continue this work even after she was gone. By leaving money to charities, Diana ensured that her compassion and care could continue to touch lives. It was not just about giving money, it was about making a lasting impact. Some of the charities she chose had personal meaning to her. They were the ones she had seen making a real difference, the ones where her own involvement had brought comfort and attention to those in need. This approach to giving also reflected Diana's belief in leading by example. She wanted people to see that generosity and empathy were not only values to admire, but actions to live by. Her charitable contributions became a part of her legacy. Were some people excluded from benefiting from her will? Let's find out. Number 7. Exclusion of certain individuals. Diana's will was not just about gifts and money. It was also about choices that reflected her personal feelings and experiences. One of the most talked about parts was her decision to exclude certain people from her will. She specifically chose that some well-known individuals should not receive anything from her estate. This choice immediately drew attention, and it stirred both public curiosity and intense media coverage. People wondered why Diana would make such a decision. Some thought it reflected the complicated relationships she had during her life. Diana was constantly in the public eye, and she had to navigate many friendships, family ties, and royal connections that were sometimes strained. By choosing to exclude certain people, she was showing her personal wishes clearly, signaling that only those she truly trusted or loved should benefit from her estate. The media quickly picked up on this part of her will, and it became a topic of endless speculation. Newspapers and television shows discussed who was left out and what it might mean about Diana's feelings toward them. Rumors spread, and people debated whether these decisions were fair, surprising, or expected. For some, it was shocking to learn that someone as generous and kind as Diana would intentionally leave people out. However, for Diana, this was simply about control and clarity. She wanted to make sure her estate was handled according to her own wishes, without confusion or interference. Her choices highlighted her independence, showing that she could make decisions for herself even when the public might not understand them. This part of her will remains one of the most discussed and analyzed aspects of her legacy, showing how even after her passing, Diana continued to influence the public and inspire conversation about choice, fairness, and personal freedom. Number 6. Confidential letters. Diana had written many personal letters during her life, and she wanted them to stay completely private. These letters were meant only for the people they were addressed to or for her own personal records. Inside them, she shared her deepest thoughts, her feelings, and sometimes her worries, hopes, and fears. She carefully gave instructions that these letters should not be read by anyone else, and she trusted that her privacy would be respected even after her passing. Despite her wishes, some of these letters eventually became public. When they were shared with the public, people got a rare glimpse into Diana's private life, seeing sides of her that were usually hidden from the media and public view. The letters revealed her emotional struggles, her reflections on her family, and her thoughts on the world around her. Through these words, people could feel her sincerity, her kindness, and sometimes her pain, offering a more personal understanding of who she was beyond her public image. The release of these letters sparked a mixture of reactions. Many people were moved by her honesty and the raw emotion she shared, while others questioned the invasion of her privacy. Her letters showed the challenges she faced in her personal life and the ways she tried to cope with them. Could it be she spelt out the manner her burial should be conducted? Let's find out. Number 5. Instructions for her funeral. Lady Diana paid close attention to every detail of her funeral, making sure it reflected her personality, values, and wishes. She wanted the service to be thoughtful, meaningful, and full of elements that had personal significance.
I'm supposed to have my head down the loo for most of the day.
She did tell me that.
The music, for example, was carefully chosen. Diana loved certain songs and hymns that she felt expressed her emotions and beliefs, and she wanted them to be part of her farewell. These pieces of music were selected not just for their beauty, but because they carried deep personal meaning, helping everyone present feel a connection to her life and spirit. The guest list was also carefully planned. Diana's aim was to include family, friends, and close supporters who had played important roles in her life. She wanted her funeral to feel intimate and respectful, avoiding unnecessary attention or pomp, even though it was a high-profile event. The people invited were meant to honor her memory in a sincere way, reflecting the relationships she valued most. Her funeral arrangements went beyond music and attendees. Every aspect, from the order of service to the decorations, was thoughtfully considered. She wanted a balance between public mourning and private reflection. allowing both the world and her loved ones to pay tribute. The ceremony was designed to show her compassion, her dedication to her sons, and her lifelong commitment to causes she cared about.
On what?
Pop music.
Even after her passing, Diana's careful planning made her funeral a reflection of her life, tender, personal, and deeply meaningful. Each decision, from the songs to the people present, demonstrated her wish to leave a mark of love and thoughtfulness. Through these arrangements, she ensured that her farewell would honor not only her own life, but also the connections she had built and the legacy she wanted to leave behind. Why would Diana want her medical records be kept secret? Was she suffering from any strange illness? Let's find out. Number 4. Privacy for medical records. Diana was very clear about keeping her medical information private. She wanted all details about her health and the circumstances surrounding her death to be kept confidential. This meant that doctors, hospitals, and anyone else who had access to her medical records had to respect her wishes and not share any sensitive information with the public. She understood that her life was always under intense media attention, so she wanted to make sure that personal details about her health were not exposed or used in ways that could be intrusive or hurtful.
Can turn the nourishment of the body into a painful attack on themselves.
By requesting privacy for her medical records, Diana was protecting not just herself, but also the people close to her. She wanted her family, friends, and loved ones to have the space to grieve and deal with her health issues without the stress of public scrutiny. This also meant that rumors, speculation, or false stories about her health could be prevented, helping to maintain dignity and respect. Her request highlights how important privacy is, even for someone constantly in the public eye. She recognized that while people may be curious, everyone deserves the right to control their own personal information, especially about health. Keeping medical records private also protects against misunderstandings or misuse of sensitive information, ensuring that only those she trusted could access the details. Diana's insistence on confidentiality showed foresight and care. It was a way to maintain control over her personal life and to ensure that even after her death, her dignity and the truth about her health were preserved.
Jamie, he loves his koala bear he's got.
In a world where personal information can easily be shared or misrepresented, her request for privacy served as a reminder of the importance of respecting individual boundaries and protecting sensitive medical details. Even after, will Diana still maintain her royal title? Let's find out. Number 3. Avoiding royal titles in death. Even in death, Diana wanted to be remembered as a person first, rather than as a member of the royal family. Reports suggest that Diana preferred that her personal name be used in memorials, tributes, and any statements made by the press, instead of focusing on her royal title. This desire shows how deeply she valued her individuality and wanted people to connect with her as a human being, rather than only seeing the crown she wore. Diana spent her life in the public eye, with the world constantly watching her actions and appearances. The spotlight often focused on her as a princess, sometimes overshadowing her personal qualities and achievements. By asking for her personal name to be used, she may have been trying to ensure that her true character, her compassion, her work with charities, and her care for others was remembered above the glamour and ceremony of royalty. Her wish also reflects her sensitivity to the media and public attention.
And it wasn't a difficult decision in the end. That's what I wanted. That's what I want.
Diana was no stranger to the pressures and sometimes the intrusion of the press. By requesting that her personal name be highlighted in remembrance, she could keep the focus on her humanity rather than on her royal identity. This simple request emphasizes her desire for authenticity, showing that even in death, she hoped to be seen and remembered as Diana, the woman who touched many lives rather than just Diana the princess. Her choice encourages people to remember her for who she truly was, her heart, her actions, and her personal impact, rather than the formal title she carried. It shows that behind every public figure is a person with their own identity, hopes, and wishes, and Diana wanted hers to shine through. Number 2. No posthumous commercialization. After her death, Diana made it very clear that she did not want her life or image to be used for money. She wanted to protect herself from people who might try to profit from her story, her photos, or her name. For Diana, it was important that her memory remained personal and respectful, not turned into a way to make money. She was concerned about advertisements, products, or media that might use her image to attract attention or sell something. Diana did not want her life to become a brand or a business after she was gone. This shows how much she valued her privacy and how she cared about the way she would be remembered. She wanted people to think of her as a real person with feelings and emotions, not just a famous figure to exploit. Even after her death, she was aware that her life story could be tempting for others to use commercially. By asking for this protection, Diana tried to make sure her legacy stayed true to her values. She wanted her family, friends, and the public to remember her for her kindness, charity work, and personality, not as a marketing tool. This wish also meant that any movies, documentaries, or merchandise about her would need careful approval if they were to respect her request. It was a way of controlling her story, keeping it meaningful rather than commercialized. Diana's desire reflects her thoughtful approach to her image and her concern for how future generations would see her. She hoped that people would honor her memory with respect and not try to turn her life into profit. Her wish to avoid posthumous commercialization highlights her awareness of fame and the pressures that come with it. Even in death, Diana wanted to set boundaries, showing that her values and personal dignity mattered more than fame or money. Number 1. Messages to her sons about kindness. Diana wanted her children, Prince William and Prince Harry, to grow up with hearts full of kindness and understanding. She left messages that were simple but powerful, reminding them to always think about other people and their feelings. She wanted them to care deeply for others and to act with compassion in every part of their lives. Her guidance was not about rules or titles, but about how to live with empathy. She encouraged her sons to listen to people, to try to understand their struggles, and to offer help whenever they could. Diana believed that true strength came from being sensitive to the needs of others and from acting with love, rather than relying only on status or power. She also wanted her children to find meaning in helping others. Her messages suggested that life was richer when they gave their time, energy, and care to people who were struggling or less fortunate. She hoped that William and Harry would be inspired to serve their communities, support charitable causes, and bring hope and comfort to those in need. Even though she could not be with them forever, Diana's words served as a compass for their lives. She wanted them to carry her values of empathy, kindness, and service wherever they went. Which of these Diana's final requests did you find the most shocking? Let us know in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.